The countdown sat in the corner of my screen like a dare. It was 39:58 until the Ashford board voted on its own reflection. Reporters packed the marble steps, staff lined the curb with clipboards that finally mattered. Luke stood beside me without a ring and with a spine. I raised my phone and said one sentence that would be replayed under 10 headlines. I didn't ruin a wedding. I retired a wiring diagram. Phones chimed as American Vows, full story, went live. Push alerts rang like church bells that studied law. Somewhere, an elevator camera waited its turn to testify. Somewhere else, a fire door decided to close on the first try. People will call this revenge. It isn't. It's a safety briefing for the heart and for buildings with chandeliers. I loved a man. He kissed a past. A family hired a fixer. Staff kept the tapes. I kept the receipts. And in 40 minutes, a dynasty would learn the difference between elegance and ethics. Newport, Rhode Island. Wind off the bay. A tent bright enough to blind regret. I stepped behind a hedge to breathe before vows and found my groom already exhaling into his ex's coral lipstick. Luke's hand on Sloane's wrist, her chin lifting like an old habit. I didn't drop the bouquet. I lifted my phone and held the frame steady. 9 seconds. Timestamp. Save. Cloud. Done. She mouthed, "It's not what it looks like." The quartet hit the swell of "at last." I learned something practical. Shock can walk in a straight line. I tucked the phone into silk, pressed my palm to my ribs until the shaking moved somewhere useful, and headed for the aisle. If I called it off, the story would end here, in pity and confetti. I didn't want an ending. I wanted the truth and the time to tell it. So I smiled, not kindly, and kept walking. Love had a choice to make. So did I. The aisle split money from more money. Donors left, dynasties right, influencers sprinkled like parsley. Luke looked penitent, the bargain brand of holy. I smiled the way women do when the room hasn't earned the truth yet. "Do you, Ava?" the officiant began. "I do," I answered, "because strategy can wear white." Vows landed, rings slid home. Applause rose like carbonated politeness. At the kitchen pass, I texted my photographer, Maya. "Cloud 3, red folder, hedge cam." She replied with 3 lock emojis and a heart, Boston shorthand for it's safe. I wasn't here to torch a $15,000 cake. I was here to replace the building's wiring without tripping the fire alarm. Luke squeezed my hand beneath the sweetheart table. I let him. It's stunning what you can hold while you're setting something down. A donor asked about the honeymoon. I said, "We're going somewhere honest." He laughed, then looked confused, the correct order with me. Crystal chimed. I stood. "To Luke, who believes in hospitality so deeply he never lets anyone feel unwelcome." Laughter, cautious and expensive. Sloane blinked twice. Eleanor's pearls clicked a warning. Bill's jaw invested in silence. I kept smiling. "To stories that begin one way and end better," I added, and drank ginger ale because justice pairs nicely with sobriety. Backstage, the kitchen hummed actual life. Andre, the sous chef, slid me a cold water like contraband. "You good?" he asked. "I'm excellent," I said, which is sarcasm for "ask me in an hour." In the security nook, monitors blinked black and white honesty. Darius, head of security, nodded at me like a man who knows weather when he smells it. Cameras don't gossip, they testify. The planner floated past, misting roses. I misted my throat and practiced the sound of not panicking. When I returned, Sloane's chair was empty. Her lipstick, however, was still on brand. The bridal powder room glowed softer than most apologies. Upload complete, off-site backup green. Maya. Verified, timestamp locked. My plan wasn't fireworks, it was plumbing. Quiet, inevitable, catastrophic if ignored. Step 1. Don't flinch. Step 2. Read the paperwork. Step 3. Publish the truth like a bedtime story for adults who forgot how to sleep. I adjusted a veil I no longer respected and laughed at the mirror because sometimes the only sane witness is you. Outside, the band tried Sinatra. Inside, I outlined episodes. Title, American Vows. Tagline, How a Kiss Becomes a Contract. I didn't intend to humiliate anyone. I intended to narrate, which in this country is occasionally the same thing. I checked battery life, lipstick, courage, in that order. Then I walked out into applause I hadn't earned and wouldn't keep. The corridor smelled like peonies and policy. I breathed anyway. Airports and algorithms. That's how a school counselor turned storyteller from Dayton met a hotel heir with a calendar full of handshakes. Luke heard episode 19 of my podcast on a red-eye, an Ohio trucker buying coffee for a stranded choir, and messaged 3 sentences that felt like a front porch. Coffee became dinners. Boston became a flight path. He carried my mic bag, learned my barista's name, and listened to rough cuts without pretending patience. The red flags arrived ironed. My family can be intense, he said, like weather. Could you keep certain things off the pod? At the time, I mistook confidentiality for intimacy. Rookie move. Love is not a non-disclosure. Love is evidence that holds up under cross-examination. He proposed in a lobby so beautiful it manufactured forgiveness. I said yes. That's the thing about yeses. Sometimes they're sincere. Sometimes they're research. I archived our messages anyway. Habit, not suspicion. If hope is a currency, documentation is the savings account. Ashford Hospitality built lobbies where America practices whispering. Bill Ashford shook senators' hands. Eleanor curated galas that smelled like peonies and pressure. Nathan, the CFO brother, watched numbers the way lifeguards watch children. Alert, detached. Harper, the influencer sister, sold sunshine by the yard and thunderstorms off camera. Then there was Julian Pike, the fixer, with a smile like a receipt and a tie the color of settlements. He once called me media adjacent, as if I were a pothole inconveniencing reputation's commute. Adorable. Underestimation is my favorite spa treatment. It exfoliates their caution. I learned the family catechism quickly. Image is oxygen, silence is service, forgiveness is for shareholders' letters. At dinners, waiters glided, toasts sparkled, and every topic turned at the exact moment truth might arrive. I kept my laughter light and my notes heavy. If love is blind, power has perfect night vision. Sloan Mercer, PR star, immaculate tailoring, laugh calibrated to be heard by the right men. She dated Luke in his haircut with opinions era, then stayed on because billionaires believe in recycling, especially people. She once sent me a welcome basket with a candle called Civility. I didn't light it. I try not to burn metaphors. At tastings, she laughed a beat early at Luke's jokes and called me brave for being so public with my work, the compliment women give when they'd prefer you quiet. She greeted staff by role instead of name, a small tell that grows teeth. I filed her under charming, suspicious, and moved on, until the hedge improved my vocabulary. At midnight, confetti like fallen stars, I reopened the prenup. Clause 14, moral turpitude and public embarrassment. The Ashfords wrote it like a fairy godmother curse. If humiliation strikes, assets flee the pumpkin. Cute. I highlighted definitions and carve-outs, then the exceptions that looked like trapdoors. This protects us, Luke said when we signed. From who? I asked. The question aged well. I didn't want their money. I wanted their math. If truth qualifies as humiliation, your brand isn't luxury, it's costume. I bookmarked the clause, then cross-checked it with Ashford sponsorship contracts that use nearly identical language. Fascinating symmetry. The same clause shielding donors from scandal also muzzled the people most likely to be hurt by it. We woke married to the wrong morning. Luke made pancakes. I made silence. She cornered me, he said. It was a mistake. Luckiest hedge in Rhode Island, I replied, buttering with precision. He reached for my hand. I let him catch air. Please, Ava. I'm not angry, I said, and meant it. Anger is loud and burns fast. Strategy is quiet and pays rent. He promised distance from Sloan. I nodded because nodding buys time wholesale. I opened my laptop and titled a new session, American Vows, Ep. 1, The Hedge. I recorded a trial line, calm, not cruel, then deleted the bitterness like a bad filter. Luke rinsed plates as if clean dishes could launder a timeline. Back in Boston, the kitchen table became an editing bay. I recorded a cold open 3 times and chose the calmest take. Panic sells, but calm invoices. Maya shot a cover image. My hands, my ring, a hotel keycard face down. On the nose is sometimes the right nose. I scheduled Friday at 5 p.m., the hour Americans shop for drama and takeout. No names, no slurs, just facts with timestamps and a narrator who refused to cry for sport. Luke texted, "Please don't." I sent a therapist's link and a heart, because mercy doesn't mean malpractice. When the episode dropped, the downloads clicked upward like a seatbelt before turbulence. Comments split cleanly, hymns and heckling. I went to Target for paper towels and perspective. America processes scandal in the toothbrush aisle. If you want truth, ask the people who refill water glasses. Rosa Ramirez had seen families undress each other with words. "You were kind to my crew," she said, folding napkins like origami. "So I'll be kind to you. That woman? She's been at every tasting, every walkthrough, too close for an ex." Andre added, "Security asked us to delete some clips last week. We didn't." He slid a thumb drive across the prep table like a communion wafer. I slipped it into my pocket and said grace. In the staff hallway, Darius lifted his chin, that subtle Boston hello. "Storm coming?" he asked. "Umbrellas recommended?" I answered. Workers moved like choreography. The wealthy called it service, but I've learned it's actually witnessing with aprons on. Nathan Ashford wasn't unkind, he was busy. He answered emails at 3 a.m., an old spreadsheet he'd shared months before. Look at our philanthropic impact. Now glowed differently. Donations, vendor payments, consulting fees to a shell LLC named Seven, the street Sloan lived on. Subtlety is a luxury. This was a billboard. I built a pin board, receipts, invoices, screenshots, dates. When the same courier delivered flowers and NDAs, I started connecting petals to paragraphs. This wasn't about an affair. It was about alignment, the corporate word for who gets paid to look away. I tagged each item with colors. Green for money, red for risk, blue for lies told politely. The board began to look like a patriotic warning. Eleanor invited me for tea in Back Bay, a room scented like linen and old victories. "We all make mistakes," she said, voice soft enough to butter toast. "Let's not make them public." "Privacy is lovely," I replied. "So is integrity." She set her cup down with surgical accuracy. "We protect what we love, Ava." "Same," I said, "which is why I protect the truth." She smiled the smile of women who've hosted senators and funerals. "Marriage requires grace. And graves for secrets?" I asked, still pleasant. Her pearls clicked. A clock hummed like an apology no one planned to make. She offered charity boards, introductions, a softer narrative. I offered the same price I always do, daylight. Julian Pike rang from a number that didn't exist. "Let's meet," he said. I chose a Cambridge diner with honest coffee and louder waitresses. He slid into the booth, tie whispering settlement. "You married up," he began. "I married across," I said. "Different direction, same altitude." He offered a discretion stipend. I offered a napkin and a pen, asked him to write the offer down. He didn't. "Thought so," I said, and left a 30% tip because dignity includes the staff. On the sidewalk, he followed with the smile professionals use on janitors and judges. "What do you want, Ms. Hart?" "A camera and a calendar," I said, "in that order." I recorded at 2 a.m. The honest hour. Families don't keep secrets. Secrets keep families, I said into the mic. Then I laid out the elevator footage, the LLC, the clause, side by side like a syllabus. I didn't name Sloan, I named behaviors. I didn't torch Luke, I traced his choices. I ended with a line America understands. Hospitality is making room for the truth. When it dropped, the downloads became a weather system. Bill's office released a statement about baseless speculation, which is what powerful people call numbered lists. Harper posted a selfie captioned "Love wins" and turned off comments. Nathan emailed me a single sentence. "Please stop." I emailed back a single word. Why? In the morning, I bought muffins for my apartment building because the hallway had started smelling like opinions. Sloan posted a Notes app square, the PR equivalent of comfort food. Boundaries were blurred, wishing the couple healing. Translation: I kissed your husband. Please applaud my growth. Her friends reposted with caption hearts that smelled like Sauvignon Blanc. I replied with a single line beneath episode 2's link. We don't heal around lies. We heal through facts. The comments split into pews and pitchforks. A Boston radio host called American Vows Midwestern Noir. Cute. Luke texted, "Please, Ava, stop feeding this." I stared at the message like it was a parking ticket on a hydrant. Wrong, loud, and not my problem. Maya sent a screenshot. Sloan's statement edited 3 times in an hour. Edits are confessions with better lighting. I brewed diner coffee in my apartment and cued episode 3's outline. The will, the clause, the cost of silence. Outside, sirens stitched Boston together. Inside, my phone vibrated with a new number labeled private. Fixers love privacy the way arsonists love candles. I let it ring. Bill Ashford proposed a family dinner, no phones, which is Billionaire for come alone to the ambush. I wore navy, brought 2 phones, and arrived early enough to memorize exits. The Beacon Hill dining room glowed like a courtroom. Bill opened with legacy. Eleanor opened with grace. Harper opened a still water and said nothing. "This can end quietly," Bill said. "It didn't begin quietly," I answered. He offered a foundation in my name, scholarships, a tasteful plaque. "Lovely," I said. "I prefer verbs to plaques." Luke stared at his napkin, the bravest linen in the room. "What do you want?" Bill asked, patience drumming a Mont Blanc on oak. "For your son to tell the truth on camera," I said. Forks paused, then clattered like small verdicts. "Our counsel advises," Eleanor began. "Mine advises oxygen," I said. Julian, the fixer, appeared in the doorway with a smile like a receipt. I left a 30% tip for the server and took my appetite to a late-night pizza place. Andre's thumb drive held more than hedges. A week before the wedding, elevator cam, Coastal Hotel, Sloan stepping in on floor 12. The footage time-stamped. Luke's face, surprised, not unwilling. Consent lived there, courage didn't. I looped the clip, counted frames like measures in a hymn. I didn't need to humiliate him. I needed him to choose daylight. I sent the file to Luke alone with a voice note. "You're better than this. B." 30 minutes later, he knocked, holding grocery store flowers that apologized for being flowers. "I panicked," he said. "Sloan knows how to manage me." "That's not management," I said. "That's muscle memory." We sat at my kitchen table, America's truest conference room. "Tell the camera," I said. He nodded, but the nod felt like a promissory note without a date. We set up 2 chairs, 1 lamp, and honesty. Maya framed the shot. Luke started strong. "I made a series of..." and stopped. Corporate nouns clogged his throat. "Plain words," I said. "No shareholders here, just people." He tried again, reached the elevator, failed at the hedge. He asked to cut and recenter. We did. 10 takes later, he had a decent apology and a bad alibi. Sloan ambushed. "She doesn't own your mouth, Luke." Silence stretched. He looked like a man who'd found the fire exit and feared the stairs. "I'll send a finished statement tomorrow," he said, and left with the flowers still on my counter. I watered them because I like living things, even when they arrive at the wrong time. Maya packed the lenses. "He's almost there," she said. "Almost doesn't stream," I said, and opened a blank doc labeled EP3 Values. The founder's will lived in a scan on an old paralegal's laptop and in 3 careful paper copies. I didn't break a law. I read a leak. Values. Clause. Trustees may suspend any heir's control if conduct undermines hospitality's first duty, safety, and trust. An independent ethics review, board majority, and a public correction were required to restore control. Eleanor had always called it family guidance. Lawyers called it teeth. The clause didn't care about kisses, it cared about cover-ups, the kind that shuffled money into foggy LLCs and deleted tapes when guests complained. An appended memo, handwritten by the founder, named Candor Under Pressure, the non-negotiable test. I laid the pages beside the prenup's public embarrassment clause and laughed softly. Different fonts, same religion. Episode 3 wrote itself, not gossip, governance. A calendar invite leaked faster than oysters at a fundraiser. Ashford Special Board Meeting, Wednesday, 10 a.m. Location, Manhattan, Glass, and Bravado. Nathan sent me a carefully neutral text. Family meeting that day. Translation, brace. I scheduled episode 3 for 9:30 a.m. and titled it Values, the Will, the Clause, the Cost. Maya brewed coffee like a union. We outlined the clause, the ethics trigger, the repairs required, apology, restitution, transparency. I added a segment on American hospitality, how safety is a promise, not a press release. Rosa texted that housekeeping had stories about deleted tickets and repaired timelines. I booked train tickets and packed flat shoes. The city teaches faster when your feet hurt. Luke asked if we could slow down. I asked if he meant the uploads or the truth. He didn't answer. The slush fund wasn't a rumor. It was a routing number. A mid-tier Ashford in Miami had a spring blackout. Backup generator failed during a storm. Guests evacuated down dark stairwells. One broke an ankle, another had a panic attack and needed EMTs. Instead of public reporting, the fixer's office processed guest relations through Seven LLC, refunds, flights, NDAs, a private therapist billed as spa wellness. On paper, kindness. In practice, silence bought wholesale. I spoke to the night manager in a cafe with loud blenders. "We wanted to do a safety audit," she said. "Got told to prioritize experience." I pictured experience spelled in monogrammed towels. The wills clause didn't care about storms. It cared about whether truth got evacuated with the guests. I traced payments from Seven to a consulting audit that resulted in exactly one laminated poster near the ice machine. Julian's smile showed up in my inbox as a pitch deck disguised as a cease and desist. He floated a narrative correction. Ava Hart, ambitious podcaster, exploiting private grief for clicks. He CC'd a friendly tabloid and a blogger known for sponsored empathy. I opened a fresh doc titled Receipts Are Boring Until They're Not, and attached timestamps, invoices, and a clip where Julian told security to recycle irrelevant footage. Recycle, as if truth were paper. I posted a calm 3-slide carousel on social. Bullet points, no adjectives. The comments did my adjectives for me. Julian called within minutes. "You're burning bridges," he said. "I build my own," I answered. He warned of litigation. I reminded him, Discovery is just a library with better chairs. He hung up. A new handle DM'd me at 1:12 a.m. Sunny but private. Harper. Of course, the influencer had a burner. Sunlight needs a closet. "Seven isn't Sloan," she typed. "It's a management trust. I can't say more here." I sent a meet location. A 24-hour diner where fries arrive judgment-free. Harper arrived in a hoodie, eyes puffy from mascara or sleep. "They'll say I'm betraying family," she said. "I'm choosing it." She slid a manila envelope across vinyl. Vendor lists, consulting contracts, internal emails. One showed Steven paying a guest relations consultant, who wasn't on payroll, billing address, a midtown mailbox. Another showed Julian approving discretionary wellness credits after the Miami blackout. "I wanted to build hotels that felt like home," Harper said, "not houses where we pretend the alarms work. I ordered pie because sugar steadies witnesses. We hugged like strangers who'd invented trust." Luke showed up with a jaw set to finally. We recorded. "I broke trust," he said, plain as bread. "I let work culture become my moral culture." He named the elevator kiss, the hedge, the diner dinner. He apologized to staff before me, which I respected and might forgive someday. He stopped short at Steven. "That's not my lane," he said. "Your name is on the highway," I answered. He swallowed. "My father handles legacy." "Legacy isn't a safe word," I said. He looked at the lens and exhaled. "I'll testify at the ethics review." It wasn't the confession my heart wanted, but it was the sentence my outline needed. After he left, Maya asked, "You okay?" "No," I said, pouring her coffee. "But the episode will be."